Good evening. Let's get started in just a minute. I want to sort out, do we know whom from the administration is expected to be here, Director Vargo? Is this the full complement? Okay. Do we expect the finance director to?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
I haven't spoken to her, but I guarantee you she's going to be here.
All right, well, hold on a
So
second.
there must be a little delay. Sorry. Mr. Chair.
Okay, everybody, let's convene the Finance Committee meeting at 5:50 p.m. As a first order of business, I'd like to consider the proposed or the draft minutes from the November 24, 2025 Finance Committee meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and the ayes have it. Thank you. So we've got a 10 or 15-minute section on council-initiated budget amendments. I'd like to reserve that for Finance Director to be present. Why don't we, if it's all right, Chief Fairbanks, are you prepared to begin talking about the fire department budget? Yes, that's the motto. That's the council president says fire is always prepared. Okay. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the presentation. We've got a presentation, council members, in our electronic dockets. Perhaps we can project that on screen when we get the equipment turned on. But Chief, please feel free to proceed.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Just a quick overview. I'll start. The first two slides are just informational. Of course, our new watercraft is in that first slide. They performed a drill with the county. This was part of the mass casualty drill that involved the Good Time 3. So they had about 50 wounded and involved all the police agencies that utilize watercraft as well. So we are really the only paramedic trained or paramedic certified water asset in our region. So they definitely wanted us to partake in that exercise. Just a quick department description, a little history lesson. We've been in existence since 1910. We have the 3 fire stations located strategically across the city. We operate 3 fire suppression companies, 3 advanced life support paramedic units, and an incident command vehicle at Station 1 and a fire prevention unit at Station 1. We also have several support vehicles, including our new rescue boat and several reserve apparatus. Maintaining a healthy reserve fleet ensures our capability to maintain a continuity of operations that limits the downtime of our units and also results in a seamless service to our residents. Here's our organizational chart. We comprise of 93 individuals committed to working as a team, protecting our citizens and their property. We have 3 shifts of personnel that work 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 a year. Our Fire Prevention Bureau is comprised of our fire marshal, the 2 fire inspectors, and Oliver, our neighborhood paramedic. In 2025, we administered a civil service exam in June, which resulted in a certified list of 41 eligible candidates. We also hired a lateral candidate for the first time since 2016. Our recruiting strategies are going to start to take a more hands-on approach in the future. Captain Flores is going to be putting together a team of current firefighters to improve our visibility in our target communities. One thing that we are finding is the applicant pool is shrinking, and all of the regional fire departments are fighting for the same applicants. So it's almost a strike early, strike often type of approach. When we find an excellent candidate, we want to go out and get them in a Lakewood Fire Department uniform. We also administered a promotional exam over the last year for the position of Assistant Chief, as Mick Tanasiewicz is going to be retiring after 32 years of service to the city of Lakewood. Captain John Catani has been selected as AC Tanasiewicz's successor, and he will be taking over as the shift commander on A shift on January 1st. So shift change is at 08:30 every day. They come in, they work 24 hours, and then they go home. So A shift, today is C shift. So C shift came on, they started at 8:30 this morning, and then tomorrow morning A shift will relieve them at 8:30. So they will be there for 24 hours, and then B shift will follow them. And then the cycle just repeats forever and ever.
Okay, thank you.
So in 2025, we had some accomplishments. We took delivery of our new rescue boat. We had to complete extensive training to ensure the safe operation when piloting this craft and for the crew. So there was quite a bit of training that went on in the spring before we actually put this watercraft in the service. We performed a lot of interagency drills with the sheriff's office, with the county, with Rocky River, with the metro parks. We wanted to get as much exposure as possible and get as much training as possible before we put this boat in the water. We also performed rescue swimmer certification, and that was a drill that involved a lot of agencies throughout the county, not just those of us along the lake, but also those from southern Cuyahoga County. We also took delivery of a 2025 ambulance that we ordered in 2022. So that's why we have to plan for our vehicle purchases so far in advance. There's just all these delays in that industry, and we have to maintain our capital timeline. We have to go out years in advance just to make sure that we're getting the vehicles that we need, and also making sure that we stick to the city's capital plan. We did take delivery of our battery-operated extrication tools. Those replaced a gas-powered unit. We did hold on to the gas-powered unit. It's on one of our reserve fire engines. So just like I mentioned before, we'll be able to maintain seamless service. So if those battery-operated tools need maintenance, we can still rely on the gas-powered and vice versa.
Chair Bullock.
Yes.
Just a question through the chair. Can you say a little bit more about the battery-operated tools? I'm very interested in this, and I appreciate that you're moving to these types of tools. Is this your first battery-operated tool? Are there any other life-saving tools that you're using currently that are battery-operated? Because I hear you saying I've got the backup with the gas one,
Right,
and I'm with you on
So
that.
The extrication tools are...
Interested to hear more. Thank you.
Sure. The extrication tools are used in vehicle crashes. They're able to pry open doors, cut through heavy metal, things like that. We do have several other battery-operated tools, such as a battery-operated chainsaw, battery-operated ventilation fans. So we're making that move across the board. Mm-hmm. When we get a newer tool, we place them on the frontline vehicles at each station. and then we take the older tool, if it's still serviceable, and we place it in our reserve fleet, just so those vehicles are ready to go. So take today, for instance, where all of our resources were committed to the fire on Homewood. We did an emergency callback so we could still maintain a certain level of service in Lakewood. So we were able to staff another fire engine, another ambulance, and another command unit just to handle any other emergencies that would come in while we were all working at the fire on Homewood. So that's our goal, is to make sure that all of our vehicles are outfitted so they can at least perform some level of service in a pinch.
Thank you.
Quick schedule comment. So I see Judge Neff and Court Administrator Maria Russo are here. Could we do this, council members? Let's let the chief finish his presentation and then pause for the discussion, and then so we're back on schedule. So Judge Neff can present then, and then we can do the Q&A with the chief. Would that work for you, Chief? So we'll still get you out of here on schedule.
Sure.
We'll have to also put our first item where we're talking about council-initiated amendments or discussion, really questions from City Council. We'll find time for that. Okay, go ahead, Chief. Thanks.
Thank you. Another initiative that we accomplished this year was we added one additional person per shift, so that was a total of 3 personnel. One of my goals this year was to decrease our overtime costs, and by adding another person per shift, we were able to absorb injuries, long-term leaves, without incurring any additional overtime costs. Just a little quick note is that batch of hiring did include our second female firefighter, she's doing outstanding, so I'm very proud of that. Another added benefit to the additional personnel is that on certain days we're able to place a 4th ambulance in service. There are many times where we need to call Rocky River or Fairview Park for a mutual aid ambulance because all 3 of our ambulances are tied up. We also digitized all of our fire prevention records. This included all of our building files, all of our investigations, all of our inspections. This was done, we were following along with the building department. Their project was much larger than ours. I did reach out to Maria in the courts, and she said, hey, try this company. The court just used it to digitize their records. So that worked out flawlessly. We're very happy with that. It also helps the fire marshal to basically locate this data a lot quicker. Public records requests are able to be fulfilled a lot faster, and it's just a more efficient, more streamlined system. We did do a lot of work in collaboration with the Cuyahoga County Emergency Management Agency. We participated in a couple of tabletop exercises. We've met with the county several times just to up our preparedness level to be able to handle any natural or man-made disasters within Lakewood. We're also working with their Ready Certify program. It's about a 22-point checklist that we go through, and each time we accomplish something, we get the check mark, and eventually we'll be a Ready Certified city. Finally, with your help, we did place the order for a replacement rescue pumper with the expected delivery date of 2028. Just a quick review of the last year. Doing a look back from the 21st of November of this year, we've responded to 8,237 calls for service. 2,097 of those were fire related, with the majority of those being EMS service. And of those EMS calls, we transported 70% of the patients, with a majority of them, about 40% going to Fairview, 28% to Lakewood, 3% to Metro, and 4% to the other area hospitals. So we did have a busy summer. It was hot. We had some power issues. We had several fires. Our personnel were put to the test over the summer. We had several injuries and several firefighters be hospitalized for heat-related illness during these fires. We did complete our annual health screenings that were done in September. And also, this always comes up. It kind of gives our folks a reality check when our retirees pass away. So we had 4 retirees pass away this year. One of them was Dan Wakus, who passed away from pancreatic cancer. He was only 65. So these health screenings are very important to our personnel. We did complete a ton of training this year. This photo is from the acquired structure on Wyandotte in Detroit. It's just behind the old music shop. So we spent about 3 months over there all summer, just getting back to the basics. You can see firefighter Joe Stellick. He's a Lakewood grad. He's the instructor teaching all the members, and it goes across the department. We have assistant chiefs and captains and everybody in attendance. We just got back to basics, did a lot of ladder work, a lot of search pattern work, hose line advancement, things like that. Just to go over a couple of the things that we did in 2025, we did complete those tabletop exercises with the county. I participated in one at Burke Lakefront Airport for a water rescue with a plane into the water, since we do have the new boat. We did one at the Westerly with their staff with a boiler explosion, and then we also did one here at City Hall with city personnel with a train derailment here on the east side. All of our EMS personnel recertified in CPR and pediatric advanced life support. We started a professional development series where we would touch on various fire and EMS related scenarios, some human resources stuff, leadership, and mental health training. We made a return to the Fire Department Instructors Conference in Indianapolis. It's one of the largest fire service conferences. We sent 7 personnel, and it's just a week long of training. There's a trade show, so that's where we really start. We make relationships. We see what the technology is out there. That's where a lot of these battery-operated tools, you know, they put them on display. If you've ever been to a trade show, they always want to sell you something. So I had a lot of business cards from that week. Like I said before, a lot of boat training and crew training, rescue swimmer training. We did vehicle extrication training with the new tools this fall. We even participated in a joint training with our police department, and it was a leadership training through Pradco. We also did a rescue task force active shooter drill with the police department over spring break. Just a lot of, we did a lot of training this year. So we did some high-rise training also at the Carlisle. They're a great partner to have in the city. They're always welcoming to us. As long as we don't make a mess, they're happy with us. We did send 2 personnel to New York City in August or September, and they participated in a high-rise fire seminar where they spent 2 days basically learning how the New York City Fire Department handles a high-rise fire. That's a target hazard here for us in Lakewood, and we found that very valuable. Each year, all of our members participate in driver training. Just helps them avoid accidents, helps them be able to maneuver the apparatus a lot better. They do participate in monthly EMS training provided by the Cleveland Clinic, and we did our live fire training in October. And our West Shore Technical Rescue Team, they have several disciplines. They train every Tuesday. Every Tuesday of the month is a different discipline, whether it's tech rescue, water rescue, hazardous materials, fire investigation, the drone team. So very busy throughout the year. Those are just some of the points that we try to hit. So this young lady was our junior fire chief this year. This is Kiara McCarroll of Harrison. First Harrison winner in quite a while, so we were pretty excited about that. Marshall Berth gave her a lift to school the day that he did the presentation, the Fire Prevention Week presentation at Harrison. So our Prevention Bureau is made up of these individuals, and they work in the realm of community risk reduction, and they utilize the 5 E's of fire prevention, and that's education, enforcement, engineering, economic incentives, and emergency response. So in 2025, the Inspection Bureau completed 1,807 fire inspections. The fire marshal did 29 plan reviews on new construction. They performed 57 acceptance tests on new systems. That would be like fire alarm, kitchen suppression, sprinkler system, things like that. They also performed 67 food truck inspections over the summer. Our fire marshal does manage the city building safety systems in conjunction with Kurt Mate of Public Works, so he's always on top of making sure that all of our systems are up to speed here in all of our city buildings. The Fire Investigation Unit, they completed 16 origin and cause investigations. That's basically what they would be doing today after the fire on Homewood. They would be looking for a determination on the cause of that fire. They also participate in public education, Fire Prevention Week, the Home Alone program, the High School Senior Safety Symposium, and a ton of other public presentations. They've been busy also, but they've been working quite a bit down at the Barry Buick site, and the downtown Lakewood project's going to keep them busy over the next couple years. The Neighborhood Paramedic Program, I think Oliver spoke very well of everything that he's involved with in the Public Safety Committee meeting. He's flourishing in that role, and we're very happy to see what he's up to. So these are all of our specialties, the committees that we have. You're all very familiar with the Apparatus Committee now, but these are just some of the things that we have our hands into, and it keeps our folks busy, but it also helps them, you know, they're able to find a specialty and really hone their skills and help each other out. So moving on to 2026, we will be taking delivery of another medic unit. This medic unit was ordered in 2023. This keeps us on the 3-year cycle, and we just rotate them through. They start out at the busier stations, and then we rotate them. Typically, they either go to Station 1 or Station 3, and then in 6 years, that unit goes to Station 2, and then in 3 years, it becomes a spare ambulance for us. So it keeps us kind of seamless, making sure that we're able to provide advanced life support. We will begin, since it is a 3-year wait, we will begin the design and build and selection process for that next paramedic unit. The Extreme Ownership Academy program was brought to me by one of my officers. They felt that this program would be very good for all of the officers, from myself down to the newest captain, to take. I did put in the presentation every point that academy will. It's almost like a self-study. You kind of follow along through a workbook, and there's a lot of scenario-based stuff in there. So that was brought to me as just a leadership development or an officer development type program. We are looking to give another captain promotional in June. The reason we give these every 2 years is it keeps our personnel in the promotional materials, which are a lot of tactics books, a lot of our procedures, our general orders within the department, the city human resource policy manual. Keeps them fresh so they're able to guide everyone around them, and it prepares them. It gives them time to act as a captain when the captains are off, so they're able to gain some experience and really hone their leadership skills. We also will be looking at a potential entrance exam. Like I said, these applicant pools are shrinking, and getting 2 years out of an entrance exam list is a lofty goal anymore, especially with about 40 candidates on the list. So we want to be able to keep that list fresh, keep the candidates. Keep that candidate pool strong for us to choose from. We're going to continue to grow a lot of the programs that we have. One thing that we are going to be doing is we will be transitioning our procedure and policy manuals in the Lexipol. That's a larger citywide initiative brought about by Human Resources and LPD. Chief Fisher uses this currently, loves it. So I'm on board with it. We have started meetings with them, the onboarding process, and we have a primary working group meeting on Thursday just to get everything started. We do have some key positions leaving in 2026. I already mentioned Assistant Chief Tanasevich is leaving. We have 2 veteran captains retiring as well, and one of our fire inspectors will be leaving. So those will be key positions that we're going to be looking to fill, and making sure that we choose the right people for that. Like I said, the ultimate goal of the LFD is to provide a top-level service with an all-hazards approach. And we want to ensure that we're able to meet any challenge. That's why that we do so much training. We want to have highly trained crews so they're able to work continuously and be able to adapt and overcome to anything that comes their way. Just some context, and that is all I have.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
So let's do what I alluded before, which is that we'll pause questions here. I think there are some things to follow up on and discuss for the fire department. But this time I'd like to invite Judge Neff and Court Administrator Maria Russo to join us at the tables and have a budget discussion.
We don't mind if this information's fresh in your heads. If you want to ask the chief questions now, that's fine with us.
Okay. Okay. You can stay for a little bit further till like 7 o'clock. Okay. Thank you. All right. So we'll continue. How about let's put about a 10-minute target discussion limit on the fire chief. Does that sound good? Because we had 30 minutes allocated, but we took a little longer in the presentation. So let me open it up to council members. I've got a couple of questions, but Finance Committee members, any immediate questions? Councilman Striebeck.
Thank you. I'm looking at the numbers on contractual services and the jump percentage of 256%. Can you talk a little bit about what the contractual services are and why we would see a jump of that nature?
Councilwoman, the major reason for that is the West Shore Technical Rescue Team. So all the West Side suburbs are putting in for a new vehicle for them, and that's Lakewood's share. Can't remember exactly what the share is, but that's the reason for the increase is because they're purchasing a new 130,
160,
maybe?
180, somewhere in there.
Somewhere around the 130 to 180 range. I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm looking at 180,800.
Oh, is the proposed? Yeah, I think it's like 130 is the Lakewood share for the vehicle. It's like a $500,000 vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of vehicle is that we're sharing?
So that vehicle, the West Shore Tech team has a hazardous materials vehicle, and that vehicle is about 20 years old. That vehicle has become overloaded because they've had to expand their reach and their capabilities. So what they're doing is they are going to keep that vehicle, but it's going to be strictly for hazardous materials, and this new vehicle will be for the technical rescue side. A lot of that equipment is large, bulky, and heavy, and they need a separate vehicle to carry that equipment in.
So an excellent example of regional sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And can you remind me who's in this group that we're sharing this with? What communities?
It's North Olmsted, Westlake, Bay Village, Rocky River, Fairview Park. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Councilman Baker?
Thank you, Chief Fairbanks. And you mentioned it, and it's also in the budget book, but the 3 additional positions, where are those? Where can we see those? Kind of what's the need for them and kind of how they'll be deployed?
So those personnel went directly to the daily operation. We added 1 per shift, so that gave us 29 people assigned per shift, and that helps me ensure that I can meet the 20-person per day minimum. You have vacations, Kelly days, holidays, FMLA, injuries. It was a way for me to be able to absorb any of those additional unforeseen, someone gets injured, they're going to be out for 6 months. We're able to absorb that without having to go below the minimum and incur any additional overtime costs. So that was one of the big things that the mayor asked me to do was to reduce overtime. So that was kind of our solution to doing that, was to increase our overall staffing so we don't have to dip below to where we are incurring those extra costs every day.
Thank you. So it's frontline folks.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Other council members? Okay, I do have some follow-up questions. So, Chief, with the, okay, I've got a question about the overtime cost trend lines, but also recruitment. So, staying with the conversation we were just on. So, firstly, are you saying, so what is our total headcount? I'm trying to look in the budget book. I'm having
90 at one time.
93 is the total headcount.
So it's 93. So that's the first increase in all my time, and I'm the old guy here, unfortunately. So, but that's a significant change because we've held the line on headcount, and there's a health insurance and benefits cost to the city on this. So I guess I'd like to. We're not going to be able to drill down entirely right now, but I'd like to see for the committee's review the trend lines on overtime. Have we been going up, and this is a strategy to get it down, is what I'm hearing? What are the drivers of overtime going up as compared to 5 years ago? And then what are the downsides of this personnel strategy? Because we're seeing not just the fire department, but overall in City Hall, a little bit of headcount increase, and there's a long-term cost to that. Director Mahoney?
Yeah, so the fire chief and I analyzed the overtime versus hiring three new personnel, and we said we would revisit it in a year to make sure it is decreasing and it's a net savings to the city. We had calculated that it would be a net savings, overtime versus hiring these personnel, including the healthcare costs. So like I said, again, we're going to revisit it. When did we hire? Mid-year we hired the three?
Yes,
Summer?
so we finally, we got these 3 additional personnel online at the end of July. So just the other day, we looked, I think this is probably going to be the first year in many years where overtime is going to be going in the right direction as opposed to going up. So we are going to revisit it at the end of next year to see if it is a true savings. And if it isn't, then through attrition, those positions just would not be refilled.
Okay, so the new hires wouldn't be let go. It'd be
Correct.
the churn of the full department of 93 positions. You'll have some retirees, and you may not.
Mm-hmm.
And so a future budget could go back to 90 if
Correct.
that was appropriate. I appreciate that. The I guess I'd like to understand, though, for a while we had overtime at a flat pace. And so now I'll readily admit this gets complex. Probably the experts on this are, and it's probably extra complex in the fire department world and maybe the policing world, too, of how your shifts work and all the rest. So I'm asking questions I don't necessarily know the answers, but I do think it's worth this discussion. So I appreciate your attention to it, but I don't remember what the trend lines are without asking the question. So maybe Director Mahoney, and we can do this offline, by email.
I'm happy to email you what the chief and I put together to show.
Great. Okay, thank you. And, so the big picture is, of course, we want high quality, and that's been a theme throughout. You've been attentive to equipment and also our hiring. So on the hiring front, I heard you loud and clear. You said we're going to be taking some steps to raise our visibility where we recruit. Can you educate us a little bit on where we recruit? Is that regional, like Greater Northeast Ohio? Could we expand that? Would
it is
an expansion
regional.
be effective potentially?
Right. So currently, we give a test locally. We use a Lakewood-based company. It's a written test. We do it at the high school. Unfortunately, there's also the national testing network that we don't utilize. The police department does, and their reach is far greater, where they're able to pull candidates from out of state. They're able to pull candidates Columbus, Cincinnati area, where our reach is very just regional. A lot of it is word of mouth. People don't read the newspaper anymore, so we do Facebook campaigns. We went out to the Tri-C Fire Academy and spoke to some recruits and said, hey, if you're about to finish here, get your name on our list. We gave them the nickel tour of the Lakewood Fire Department. Chief Sambulo and I did, and we ended up getting, I would say, about a dozen of those recruits to sign up for our test. So we are going to be looking into the national testing network just so we can expand our reach. There's some recruitment that's built into that where we post a flyer on there, and it's very simple for these recruits to, you click and apply. There's a test that they have to take. They take their test score, and they click, yes, I'm going to apply for the Lakewood Fire Department. We get all of that documentation back, and we still follow our civil service procedures for selecting those candidates. It's another tool in our tool bag for us to get a better reach, get some more candidates in here, give us a bigger applicant pool.
Right. Is that the system you were referring to before? You said the police department uses a certain system?
Yes.
And they had a good experience. So that's a contracted recruitment service, basically, and how
it's a testing service, but there's a recruitment side to it.
Okay, great. So we're putting some thought to it. It seems to me, and there's a demographic dimension to this, but there's also if the national supply of people interested in applying to become public safety career professionals is shrinking, and then I'm glad we're putting a lot of strategic thought to upping our game so that we can maintain, options for the leadership to, recruit the best and the brightest. So it's always good. Okay. Any other questions, anybody? Okay, for now, I get the one last thing I'd like to plant a seed is with the rising cost of equipment when these ladder trucks, quints, I'm using the wrong terms, but the big trucks are going up and up and up in price. For the out years, we've got this next one ordered, but beyond that, is there a equipment strategy where we're not always buying the most expensive, newest ones? That's a whole long conversation. Fleet's got to be involved. You guys got to be involved. But can there be a strategy there that is cost effective without losing quality? That would be for next year, but that occurs to me as well, because we're blessed for now with some revenue uptick, but we're hearing from the public that they're feeling the pinch on property taxes. And you don't know in this economy, and our federal partnership is changing every 15 minutes, it seems. So, our continued skill at preparing to be lean, even if we don't have to be lean. I'm glad, for example, that we did get our fireboat replaced. I think that was a project that took a number of years, but now that's in place. So we're not talking about losing capability or quality, but just preparing to potentially have alternatives to just paying a vendor through the nose. If that's our only option, that's going to continue to be expensive.
I think for me, it's a personal goal that if we're going to make the investment, we want to make the investment in the quality vehicle that's going to give us the maximum return on our investment. So I could go out and purchase a considerably cheaper fire truck, but we would be replacing it a lot sooner, rather than getting the biggest bang for our buck and having a high quality vehicle that's going to serve those 25 years, the 25-year mark that I really want to hit with all of our vehicles. So it's kind of...
So our strategy is the maintenance.
The strategy is the maintenance to make sure that we are getting the quality unit to get the longevity out of it.
Very good. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Okay. Let's proceed to our next agenda item, which is Judge Neff and the Lakewood Municipal Court. Would you like to join us at the front for a presentation? And Court Administrator Maria Russo.
This mission's the same as last year. And I just want to say, Marie and I put a lot of thought into this when we wrote it. We really believe in what it says and what it stands for, and we try to work our best to live it every day with the people who come through the court. Next slide. So on the org chart, there's a few things that have changed or we're proposing to change. So in 2025, the court had 5 part-time magistrates, and that has changed. 1 magistrate retired, 1 is retiring at the end of this month. And so I hired a full-time magistrate, which is just so much more beneficial than part-time because there's consistency. People aren't doing things different ways, and it's working out really great. And David hit the ground running with the training. That's all done. He took the new magistrates training, and he's working out very, very well. And we're proposing in our budget, you'll see a point, the bottom green boxes in the civil and criminal divisions. We hope, if approved, to add 1 part-time deputy clerk to each of those divisions to help with the increased caseload and to adjust for any backlog when staff are off, and trust me, they're off a lot. And it's hard to keep up, particularly with the increased cases being filed with the court. So again, part-time, so it would be no benefits or extra benefits for the part-time people. We had 1 probation officer leave to go to law school earlier this year. You may remember him, Corey Stavko, who was with clerk, so we're excited for him. But it opened a huge door for me because I particularly wanted to get a probation officer who had significant experience at the county level because they have access and are aware of so many more different resources. And we feel really grateful to have hired Kelly. She has over 20 years experience as a county probation officer. But what struck the chord with me is she has significant experience with mental health. She worked the mental health docket with the county, as well as drug, alcohol, and treatment. So she really knows her stuff. She's almost like an expert for the probation department, so that she was a good find for us. And I think that covers it for our chart. So I'll draw your attention to, we just took a snapshot from August of 2022, where there were 700 new cases filed. And then 3 years later, it's jumped to almost 100 more filed. And that just seems to be pretty consistent month by month with the number of cases increasing. And hence the reason why we're seeking the 2 part-time deputy clerks to assist with that increase, as well as hiring Kelly with her vast experience because it took very little downtime to train her. Hand it over to Maria.
For our 2025 accomplishments, we touched last year with you on a new case management system that we wanted to implement. We did it. We successfully completed the implementation of the case management system, which I will refer to as Pension, in February of 2025. I will mention that it was fully funded by grant money that the court achieved over a 2-year time period. This platform is used by approximately 50 courts across the state of Ohio. So that is beyond beneficial to myself as well as the judge because we can reach out to several other municipal courts that use the same case management system when questions arise. So again, very, very good decision on behalf of the court. Technology enhancements, the integration of the website, the court's website I'm referring to, with the case management system, and also the incorporation of Vital Check, which is by LexisNexis. So defendants are now able to pay waiverable tickets online or over the phone 24/7. So what I mean by that is Vital Check, which again is owned by LexisNexis. A defendant can call in, they can give their first name, including last name, they can give a social security number, they can give their case number, and that Vital Check system, again, is operable 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I chuckle a little, but not, that we actually had somebody call and pay on Thanksgiving. So they called and paid their ticket, but in any event, it's nice that that service is there, and again, that it integrates with our current website. It also increases access and limits phone calls for our staff because the phones aren't consistently calling. We used to do payment hearings on the second Friday of every month, and those 100 to 150 people would be calling in, and we no longer have those calls. Next slide is our new case management system. As I mentioned, simplifies and streamlines a lot. This is actually a snapshot of the public court docket itself. So again, the defendant can look to the public court docket, or this is what LexisNexis sees. So as you can see, someone can search by first name, last name, case number. You can choose whether it's traffic, criminal, civil, small claims, or a parking ticket. Also, you can search by your ticket number, your hearing date, or your violation date. And it gives you a vast number of ways, one, to search, but two, you can have 25 matches, 50 matches if you feel like spending all day on the website. Next, this is actually a look of the docket from the actual docket itself. So as you can see on the bottom, it starts with the implementation of the case when it's scanned and given to us. If there's a continuance, it shows you the fees as you progress through the timeline. And then it states whether you have a hearing, whether it's an arraignment, whether it's a pretrial. But again, the ability to pay the waiverable tickets, you can see the icon on the top right, which is the $sign. The sign next to it is a folder, which shows that you can search case information, and then the little clipboard next to that shows docket entries. This is a fun little fact that I wanted to include in the PowerPoint. I had a gentleman last month, I apologize, that came in and needed a copy of his 1972 record. So this just shows how far we've come, and I appreciate this beyond, because I had to find the docket book on the left-hand side. I learned so much. You find the docket book on the left-hand side from the 70s, then you go to the date that the person had their court hearing, and you find their name. The column then all the way to the right shows you a number that correlates with a docket entry. So this just shows you the date and the name, and then you have to go find another book, which is then the book to the right, that shows you the actual docket entry. So the judicial bailiff that was in the courtroom, how they concluded the case, they typed in what happened, they typed if there was a bond. Again, just interesting from start to finish, so that you can see what it was back in 1972 versus today. Another 2025 accomplishment, we've completed phase 1 of our upgrades, the probation department as well as magistrate offices. And what I mean by this is Public Works has helped us with fresh paint, new carpet, and some furniture in select offices. As you recall, last year we also asked for a 3-year rollout of these upgrades throughout the courthouse. And with the cooperation of Independence Business Supply and perhaps several smiles on behalf of myself and the judge, we're going to achieve this next year. So that 3-year rollout will have been completed between 2025 and 2026. This slide shows you just that. So the bottom pictures are what probation was working with. They had tables, they didn't even have desks, and then they sort of piecemealed different furniture together so that they could make a workable space so that they could see their probationer and then, still be able to view their computer screens. The top is obviously the new, so that we have a fresh desk and filing cabinets to keep all of their stuff confidential, yet still close to them.
Okay, also mentioning some other 2025 accomplishments. This one's really exciting to us. In June of 2025, the court began receiving electronic citations for traffic cases. And it's an incredible step forward in efficiency, and it was only made possible by a collaboration with Lakewood Police Department and Chief Fisher. We did have some growing pains, but we are pretty much past all that. City IT and the Ohio Department of Public Safety. So what it does is the officer, I'm going to point you to that box where you see the steering wheel and the laptop there. The officer types the ticket into the computer, and it prevents mistakes where in the past you may not, on a paper ticket, it may not be legible. Because there's this, like a guardrail that goes up. If an offense and a code section don't match, the officer can't go forward until it's corrected, which is just a real time saver for the officers and the court, because in the past, the clerks would have to go to the officer's supervisor or find the officer, revisit him or her, and say, hey, this doesn't match, what do we do? Because the court, we can't just, change a ticket, even though we know what they probably meant it to be. So this has been really wonderful. And the court, what happens, and once the officer inputs that ticket, prints it on the little computer that's in his or her patrol vehicle, they hand it to the offender, and then that ticket gets sent to the court automatically. And it's a beautiful thing, because back in the day before this was implemented, the staff every morning would have to go pick up the paper tickets from the police department and manually enter every field in that ticket. So it just really saves a lot of time, and it's just beneficial, I think, to both the police as well as the public and the court. And the other nice thing about it is when that ticket's sent, if there's any supplemental reports that the officer wants to include, for example, say it's a speeding ticket, but there was also an accident, they can include the crash report. If it was an OVI, then include that report with all the facts and information and the defendant's history. But that's only for the court view. It's not public view. So it's just very efficient, automatically assigns a case number and the arraignment date for the offender, so they know when they walk away with that citation when they're due in court for their case. And I want Maria just to tell you about her ride-along, because we thought it was really important how we understood how the process worked from the officer to the court. So I'm going to let her tell you about that. She had an interesting ride-along.
It was fun from start to finish. It took me back to like an intern day, and I loved it. But more importantly, it was to learn on our side. So like if we had questions of the officer, exactly what they were implementing, or if there was a mistake, or if there was, a backup, or whatever the case may be. So it was nice to see, it was Officer Hanneman, am I saying it right? Okay, he was amazing, but he showed me from start to finish, obviously how they alert dispatch, and then how they pull the individual over, and then it was an expired plates ticket that we issued. But the questions that he needed to ask of the officer, then it was fun, because I reminded him, wait a minute, you need to tell them that they need to appear in court and get their email. But in any event, it was nice, like I said, to see from start to finish everything that they input on the ticket, and then how he uploads it. And then we both actually have access to a system called Solve. So if there is, officer makes a stop and there is a mistake on the ticket, he can void it and he can start again. And I can see that void, so that we both sort of work in conjunction with each other, or the officers have gotten in the habit as well of, reaching out to me if they, the defendant needs to check the appearance box, the person's mandatory appearance. They can reach out to us, and we have now a joined letter that we send to the defendant to remind them that they do need to appear. But again, from start to finish, it's just nice to see and understand how it gets from them, how it comes to me, and then how it ultimately gets onto the docket by just the posting of traffic tickets. That center box, and the judge might have said this, I apologize, but that center blue box is what we see on Henshin. So when I come in the morning, we press post tickets to traffic, they automatically get a case number. They get put on the public docket. It states that the e-ticket is filed with the court. The supplemental documents are attached. It says no public access, meaning there's no image next to it to the public, but there's an image on my side if the officers attach a defendant history, and then it also throws the arraignment date and time.
Yeah, we run that report twice a day so that we can stay up to date with the officers and the citations that they're issuing.
One of the last 2025 accomplishments that we'd like to touch on, in August of 2025, the court partnered with the Ohio Attorney General's office to improve the collection process. So now we are able to pursue outstanding fines, fees, and court costs more efficiently, and this services at no cost to the court. So it was a wonderful, again, collaboration between us as well as the Attorney General's office. And with that being said, this is actually an example of a report that I get every Tuesday from the Ohio Attorney General's office. It's a direct deposit that's put directly into the court's funds. It gives me the case number, it gives me the defendant's name, the last four of their social security number, and then it'll tell me, it's kind of convoluted on here for me to explain, but it'll tell me if it's a partial payment, if it's a full payment. The Attorney General's office does take a portion or a percentage for themselves. However, we as the court are always made whole. So there's nothing that's taken out of the ultimate fines and costs that the judge orders at sentencing. We, again, are made whole. And I just put kind of like a side note that we went live with them on August 28th of 2025. We have officially sent about $155,000. Totaling 870 records, and they're doing their best to keep up with all the cases we're sending over. 2026 objectives, just speaking briefly on each of these. Proceed with ongoing the scanning initiative. I know that, again, last year we mentioned that we're trying to get up to date with civil scanning of the actual physical files. With that being said, I am now up to next year, 2026. We're hoping to scan 2019 through 2022, and we will officially be up to date. It's a beautiful thing. I am doing my best. I have said from the very first day that I will clean out that garage. But we will keep 2023, 2024, and 2025. Those years will be kept in the clerk's office only because we reference so many of them. Because we have, if there's additional filings that come in and we need to reference those old files, it's nice to still have the paper file to give the judge for review. But again, that's to us in current time. We want to start criminal scanning. In our budget, we did ask to start those cases, and I will be honest with you, those physical files and the docket books that I showed you a couple of files or a couple slides ago date back to the early 70s. So that garage does have 1970s docket books as well as physical files all the way up to current date. So again, in our budget, you'll see that we're pitching for that. Per legal requirements, our records must be retained for periods ranging from 2 to 50 years. So it's not, an easy task.
Yeah, in the last box down there, I'm really excited about this because it's working very well. We launched on October 23rd a driving under suspension pilot project. And what it is, it's aimed at individuals. We get so many citations for driving under suspension and no insurance. And so the purpose of this project is to get people legal license and financial responsibility. Because the BMV, it's an animal in and of itself, and these people get caught in this vicious cycle, owe tons, thousands, sometimes of reinstatement fee dollars, and they just can't get out from under it. So with the prosecutors, working with the prosecutors, we came up with this, launched it. And what happens on arraignment day, anyone who has a driving under suspension, whether it's an unclassified misdemeanor or a first-degree misdemeanor, after they're arraigned, they're immediately going out to talk with the prosecutor. The prosecutor is reviewing the record with them, telling him you need to do A or A, B, and C to get valid. Can you do it in 2 months? And a lot of it is just a reinstatement fee or showing proof of insurance. But then some of these individuals, they're suspended by another court for maybe a year or so. So there's no point making them to come back for a pretrial. So we're shortening the process, preventing people from taking off work to come in just to be told, no, you've got to do this. We're hitting it on the front end. And it's working pretty well, so I'm really happy about it. We should be happy about it because we want everyone on our streets to be a legal driver and particularly have insurance. So that's something we hope to expand through 2026 and keep it going and make it an official driving under suspension special docket.
This is just a fun slide of the garage in its current state. Actually, this picture was taken in the beginning of November. Since then, I worked with refuse, and of all the civil files that I have scanned and removed from the garage, I removed 18 cabinets. Of those 18 cabinets, we either had to pry open because they were locked, or they were broken. But again, it is a huge feat for me because, like I had mentioned, I really, really want to get to the bottom of saying that the court is scanned and digitized. So again, this is from the beginning of November, and then in your head you can subtract 18 of those filing cabinets.
Right, and so coming around the end here, we hope to be able to get approval to hire 2 part-time deputy clerks for the clerk of court's office. As I mentioned earlier, I won't say any more about that. And we want to finalize the furnishing of the remaining office spaces for the magistrates and probation staff, as well as replacing the vertical blinds with the protective sunshades that a lot of the space in the court does have. And yeah, I think that's it. So I just want to say thank you to council. Thank you for your time and attention. I know these are long evenings for you, and we appreciate you, and we hope you will consider our budget request. And to the mayor's administration, in particular to HR, Leah's fantastic with our onboarding, IT and Public Works. And I want to mention IT and Public Works were amazing to help the court become ADA compliant, because the new full-time magistrate I hired is wheelchair bound. And they did it quickly, and it was really a beautiful thing to see, to have them work in partnership for this young man that I hired. He's really excited, and he can get around the courtroom like anybody else, or anywhere through the court space. So it's great. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Judge Neff. Thank you, Administrator Russo. Excellent presentation. Thanks for your diligent attention to improving court operations, docket management, case management, efficiency. There's a lot that you included in the presentation. I'm sure that saves time, improves effectiveness, saves money, and improves a lot. Does any council member have a very, very brief question? If not, okay, Council President Kemp, please.
Thank you. Thank you both for being here and for all you're doing to make things more efficient and better customer service, and your partnership with the police department. Appreciate that too. I just had a quick question on the page 49 of our book. The court special projects shows a 72% decrease, or generally lots of decrease. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that. So it has the salary decrease, fringe benefits, et cetera. So is that shifting duties from being?
I can help with that one.
Okay, thank you.
We had found that there was a person being charged their salaries, and we found that it was more proper that they should just be in the regular court budget. So we moved them. So that's why you'll see a slight larger increase on page 47 under salaries. So it's no change in personnel in that line. It was just, and that court special projects and a lot of these other special funds are funded by various fees on your tickets. And yeah, so that was a correction actually.
Okay.
More than
great.
anything.
And I'll add to those special projects fund, special project computerization, the IDAT, IDAM. They're restricted for certain things. But one thing, I think I mentioned this last year, is if I declare surplus to the Adams Board with my IDAT funds, it can be carried over to IDAM. And so for indigent people, we have paid for their mental health treatment, for their inpatient alcohol drug treatment. So we can do some really good things with that money. Even though there's a lot in there, it's sometimes hard to spend, but I'm trying to find creative ways to help these folks out.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Councilman Steiner.
Thank you, Councilman Bullock. Just a couple of questions, and one question, and then maybe a couple of questions. You said our part-time employees, they aren't getting the benefits. Maybe this is more an HR question. Are part-time employees eligible for benefits eligible?
Not health, no.
Okay.
I'll let Renee answer that.
Okay, perfect. All right. And so then the other question, what are some of the trends that you're seeing in the court with like the cases? Like what are some recurring themes?
Honestly, the recurring themes are the mental health is overwhelming. It truly is. And it's not just this court. I've spoken with other municipal court judges, and it's, I don't know, there's just not enough resources. But like I said, with our new probation officer, we're optimistic, and we're able to get people assessed when they're in the jail, so that, because a lot of these folks won't return for their appointments, so we can kind of nip that in the bud. Yeah, I'd say the mental health is a big piece.
Thank you. And then, so going back to the launch driving under suspension pilot docket, I would be interested in some of the data points as you're going through this. So basically trying to just determine, is this effective? And these types of programs and interventions, are they effective? And is this where we can make a case and increase our dollars to support these types of programs through the courts? So I personally would be interested to know, the number of individuals that go through, what are there repeat offenders, and what's maybe driving some of those repeat offenses. And even just looking at some pre and post data. So before, the implementation of this program, what were we seeing as it relates to people driving under suspensions? And then after we are doing this program, what's those offenses looking like after
we should be able to capture that data. Now, for repeat offenders, it would just be for the Lakewood Municipal Court.
Correct.
That's
yeah.
who would come back.
Yep.
But we do have some. So
yes,
so
I'm sure.
We can. I'll make a note of that. I just did for next year.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Good, Councilman? Okay, thank you. I think we'd better conclude there since we've got to shoehorn in a bunch of other things, but thank you once again to the court. And of course, Judge, we don't really oversee your budget. We include and facilitate your budget in our municipal government budget, but you're a state of Ohio independent branch of government, and you've got all these other funds. So that's my understanding, so we certainly respect what you've proposed, and also appreciate the annual check-in that this is. It's a good opportunity to communicate and hear all three branches of government, and then also glad to see that you're doing work shoulder to shoulder with the police, the law enforcement on the front lines. That's got to be very fruitful work together.
I think it's a great partnership.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Thanks for your
All
time.
right, Finance Committee, I'd like to pivot back to the council-initiated section where we have an opportunity to talk about amendments and/or questions. I'd like to open it to Finance Committee members. Councilman Baker, Councilman Strebig, any points you'd like to raise or matters you'd like to discuss? Mr. Baker?
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Bullock. And the one interesting thing, and this is, we've talked a little bit about kind of specificity in some of these ordinances. The one, that I don't know the custom, and looking back at the previous budget items and previous appropriations, we line item a lot of things. So I think it's in 34, 2026, we line item, a lot of different stuff. But then in 36, 2026, for the planning department, and we did this last year as well, we kind of just give a, large number and then detail out classifications of things. Some entities and then some program style buckets. Is there I just clarification on kind of why we do that?
Thanks. I presume, Director Mahoney, you may be the best qualified person to respond.
Sure. So the 34, 2025 is, that follows along the regular budget, like all the different lines in the operating budget. And then 35, 2025 is the capital budget.
No, no, 36 is the question in particular, that
36.
it seems to be that we give kind of like buckets
That
for,
is, yeah, that's the planning and development ordinance. And historically, they've prepared that one, so finance doesn't do that one. But
okay, I guess we can stick a pin in that and then ask
Yeah.
when it's their turn. I'm curious that we, I'm assuming that there's a roll-up here, right? Possibly.
for the 36,
Yeah, for
ordinance?
36, to get to this, and it's the same number as last year, if my research is correct. I was just curious as to why it's a varied subjects, from paying law firms to building code enforcement to water main work or water main replacement program. So I was just curious. Perhaps we can get some more clarity maybe at the next Finance Committee hearing about it. The next one, and Director Mahoney, we had some discussion via email for Ohio State beat Michigan about 35. So this is one that, I've often talked to our colleagues about kind of how much specificity we would want, and looking back into what the administration was custom, was to have each one of these line items in the capital budget, building, facilities improvements, parks, pools improvements, be their own ordinance. I think it's streamlined to put them all in one. The question I have for my colleagues and then also for the administration is, do we want to have a little bit more specificity in these? These are big buckets of capital work. I know, the one particular one that kind of piqued my digging into this subject was looking back at the budget book. These are the roll-ups. I think it's like for buildings and facilities improvements, it's approximately 25 million plus or minus, and then Director Mahoney indicated that they put a little buffer on that so that if costs go up, within a degree of, 5 or 10, 15%, that they can still move forward. The one that I think I would like more specificity on before we pass this budget, in particular, open up the rest of my colleagues about kind of whether we'd want a little bit more line item specificity. I think there's a lot of ways to do it if we did want to do it. You could literally just take the line items in the budget book and put them in there and then say, as long as they're within 15% of the proposed number, then they're fine. If they're not, come back before council for reappropriation or increase or decrease or whatever. Second thing is I think the administration has $18 million in the budget for city hall improvements. Or I don't know the actual name. I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me. But I think we're going to need a really good understanding of what intention behind that is and what we think we're going to spend $18 million on next year. At least I would like that specificity.
Thank you, Councilman Baker. I've got some follow-on thoughts and questions, but Director Mahoney, any thoughts, or Mayor George in response to that line of questioning?
Well, I'll just make one comment considering, so it's two different issues here. One is the contracting authority, so that follows along the appropriation ordinance. So those kind of go in tandem together. So when you're approving the appropriation ordinance, you are in essence approving the whole budget book. And this is just a reflection of the authority to enter into contracts that goes along with the budget that you approve in, and I forget what number it is. It's one of the early, it's
33-2025?
2025.
That's the appropriation ordinance.
That's
And so
correct.
as drafted, just to repeat what you're saying, because it's important, I think, is as drafted, passed with no amendments, City Council would be appropriating the amounts as presented in the budget book.
That's correct.
Okay. And then you're saying, in addition to that, a parallel but separate lane is contracting authority. And please repeat or clarify as you were about to do.
Yeah, that's correct. So 33 appropriates the funds, 30, whatever.
And that's not to exceed, correct? So if
That's
there's
correct.
an amount, we may spend less. We can't spend more unless there's a follow-up correction.
That's correct. We would actually have to come to council for an appropriation ordinance amendment and a contracting authority amendment if that was the case.
Right, okay,
Yes.
but back to the contracting authority, that's which,
That one is 34, 2025 is the contracting authority.
And that breaks out items 1 through many. There's
That's-
19 plus 39 plus 38. Okay, and so those numbers in 34-2025 should track with 33, correct?
That's correct. Then 35 is the capital portion of
And
the
those
contracting.
breakouts currently are presented in the binder in the appendix where we have those charts.
That's correct.
And we have a 5-year chart.
Mm-hmm.
These numbers would correspond to the immediate next year, 2026 only, right?
Just 2026,
Okay.
that's correct.
But to Councilman Baker's point, part of the discussion is whether we get more granular, and there's probably several levels of granularity here because we've got very large, broad buckets of categories here that don't even correspond to, for example, the division of streets and forestry or the division of, pick another one. So, and in a couple of areas, I know that we've got, live conversations about, the biggest one is probably the potential city hall renovation project and or expansion. That's a big one. That's a big ticket item. But there's some other things too that we may want to, I think between the administration and council, before we're done, just get on the same page about what our mutual expectation is for sure 2026, and for some of these that are multi-year, really it's 26, 27, potentially 28. So, I don't think we're going to do that in the next 3 or 5 minutes here, but we're talking kind of process, and so I certainly appreciate Mr. Baker's questions. And Director Mahoney, I'm going to filibuster here a little bit. So looking at 35, the capital budget, and I'd like to read into the record or discuss what I saw in passing in an email, and that is that the administration is proposing to round up to a certain amount. I recall, for example, the sidewalk program in Director Gordon's presentation being $500,000, but here it says $600,000. And that is a incremental increase of more than 10%, even more than 15%. I think 10% is the traditional contingency. So, for example, if, there's extra cost or complications in a road or a parking lot, traditionally you have 10% extra. You hope not to spend it, and sometimes it comes in under budget, and then you have monies to do another parking lot or something. And that's all great. But what we're doing here, or what the proposal is here, is to add 20%, which is, to me, a bit high. And is that 20% contingency carried forward on all the categories, or some? I guess I'd like to understand that between
Sure.
now and when we're making a final vote.
Sure, so the final authority is in the appropriation ordinance. The contracting authority has always had a buffer. So say, for example, sidewalk improvements. If, the Public Works said, hey, we can do some more, well, we would have to take money from another budget line in order to pay that $600,000. If we could not, we would have to come back to council to ask.
Okay, so if I look at 33, and we're not going to literally do this now, but there should be a line in 33-2025 that would say only 500,000. Is that correct? Or 500,000 plus 10%
Well,
contingency?
actually, no, the contracting authority has always had a buffer, and I'm sorry if I made it sound that they were a one-for-one, but the contracting authority has always had a buffer. The appropriation ordinance is the true authority that we cannot go over.
See. But in this case, I'm also asking about capital. So that's a third bucket, which is for the capital on budget proposed in 35-2025. And I think you said in an email, the actuals are 25, just a little bit more than 25.5 million but the administration's proposal is 27 million for items that could be changed throughout the year, that could be charged throughout the year to various department budgets outside of what is presented in the capital section. So to me, that's a pretty significant increase. Can you explain that a little further?
Well, so again, we could not go over the 25,583 that's in the capital plan for those improvements.
Okay.
But if there was another line that we had extra budget money in, then that's why the contracting authority is a little higher
Okay.
than the
So
appropriation.
in essence, 35-2025, which is the capital budget, that's contracting authority for capital.
That's correct.
Okay. That's helpful to me. Council members, any additional points? Councilwoman Keppel?
Thank you. I think it may be helpful to continue. We want to make sure we get to Chief Fisher, and we're running short on time, but I think continuing this conversation a little bit offline too, because I do have, I'm looking at page 158, which is the capital improvement plan, where it's broken down into a spreadsheet here. Those numbers, some of them align fairly closely to Ordinance 35-2025, which is the capital, and are sort of combined. If you combine buckets, you would get to those numbers, and other ones are a little bit different. So I'd like to, I'll note that I'd be happy to follow up with Dr. Mahoney about that to get some understanding with that. But I did want to ask about with the 33-2025 appropriations. So it lists the land acquisition fund. Is blanked out. So is that just saying there's no new money being added to it? So that the 1
Or none of that balance is authorized to be expended.
none of that is authorized to be expended. Is that the?
That is.
It's on page
Yeah,
9.
I see it.
Is in the budget book on page 36, it says that the land acquisition fund 2026 projected ending balance is still 1.5.
Yeah, and I had thought we had appropriate, so let me get back to you on that one.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the detailed questions. So we had probably better press on. I guess administration, what we're hoping to do is continue to dig into this. What I think that council may attempt to do is propose in draft form by next Monday some matters that we might want to adjust, change, or detail. I think Councilman Baker's point is to detail, not necessarily to change the numbers in all cases, maybe in some cases. And then, of course, we've got, for example, the composting program. So we'll work towards having something in writing by next Monday so we have some time to look at that in concrete terms, which is prior to the following Monday, which is our target for concluding all of it, right? And our goal still is to work towards the regular, timely adoption of our budget ordinances together.
Mr. Chair, I just, on that, we have a lot of different ordinances and pieces of paper in front of us, and Dr. Mahoney, we're going back and forth. There were some corrections on some of these from the administration as well, and I believe Dr. Mahoney sent us red line versions today. It might be helpful to substitute. Those are mostly typos and things like that, but just so that we all, if you wanted to go ahead and substitute those so that those versions can be docketed for the next meeting, and we're all working from the same ones, might be a...
Are they on our agendas tonight, or do we have to do that next?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, and then we'll get to the chief, Chief, can you talk like the Chipmunks, Alvin and the Chipmunks?
This is
let me
great.
go
That
to
means
the
you guys don't have
agenda.
time for questions.
And to the council president's point, well, I'm not seeing it on the agenda, on my agenda, in Granicus, unless it's been, let me just refresh and see if it's, Do we have, okay, so in email, and we could also do this at the beginning of the next hearing, if that's easier. There is a red line I received, but I don't know if all council members received, some red line capital ordinances, purchasing, and Department of Development red lines. So, Clerk Bach, do we have that on our agenda? The full committee? Okay. Why don't we, can you double check? We'll do it next time then. You can double check if they're in, or, I mean, if they're eligible tonight for a motion, then I'd be happy to make that motion. But if not, maybe we'll do it next time. But in the meantime, why don't we proceed to the chief? And Chief, we, of course, would love to have an hour to ask you questions. And you would love it even more to answer those questions. But why don't we begin with your presentation? We're down to really 15 minutes, unfortunately.
I'll talk the Monsters Machine guy. Okay, so obviously just first page is just some pictures of us at our events. Begin where any good organization begins. Obviously the most important part is the personnel that works there. We have kept up with retirements and departures. We've hired 8 new officers this year, including 3 new female officers. That left us at 97, which is even better than last year. We were doing good at 95. This is in the same environment where a lot of local and national police departments are struggling to maintain their levels of personnel. We're doing a pretty good job. And you'll see that we are actually on schedule to come in significantly lower on our overtime budget this year, which is a good thing. Obviously, when we're fully staffed, we don't have to backfill. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's a significant amount that we will not spend this year that was already allocated. So we're trending in the right direction. We did have 2 officers leave before the probationary period. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. We'd like to find that out sooner rather than later. Neither departure was ugly, but one left to not be a police officer anymore, and one just wasn't a fit here. And we're not going to just have people here to have people here. We did give 1 entry-level exam this year. Again, this is excellent. Last year we had to give 3. I'm sorry, in 2024 we had to give 3. In 2025 we only had to give 1. Again, speaking to the personnel levels. What we did for community outreach this year, obviously coming from the community officer position back 18 years ago, we adapted some of our ideas, Coffee with a Cop. Not that it got stagnant or stale, but we wanted to change it up. We started the Coffee with a Vet program. We did our LPD LHS tailgate party at one of the football games. It was just a good start, good success to that. We hope to do a couple more next year. We have Cram the Cruiser coming up, Shop with a Cop. We just sold out of all of our tickets for that. We're going to take 20 kids from Lakewood shopping on the 13th. We're going to take them to Walmart, give them $120 to spend to buy Christmas presents that they normally wouldn't be able to do. So we really, I think we set the bar high for our community outreach. We did partner recently with the Chamber of Commerce. One of my ideas, and a guy that I know from the Commerce, we put our heads together and said, how can the police department better serve the businesses? So every Friday, a community officer and a chamber member walk the businesses on Detroit and Madison, going in and listening to see what we can do to better foster those relationships. We expanded the summer safety days. I don't know if you were, I know I talked about it at previous meetings, but it's becoming a really cool program for kids. It was at Madison Park this year. We had a dunk tank. A couple of our officers got dunked by kids. They loved that. I'm hoping to get some of you to maybe volunteer next year. We implemented the Blue Envelope program, another initiative dear to me, having sons with disabilities. That Blue Envelope program helps people with autism or developmental disability who probably don't feel real comfortable talking to a police officer. They put their stuff into a blue envelope, they hand it to the police officer. There's a little note in there that says, whatever their whatever their, I don't want to say disability, whatever their issue is. And we were first in the county, got a lot of good press with the news organizations with that. Now other departments, I know Rocky River just called me and asked me how ours is going, and Bay Village, they're looking to implement theirs. Books and badges, our police officers going to the schools and read to the youngsters, trying to get them young, kindergarten, first grade. So we did that. LPD Citizens Academy, another success this year. Next year's already sold out, it's already filled up. So we have a full class for next year, starts in January. We just did the backgrounds on those folks that are going to come in and do next year's program. And then, like I said, we staying visible at all the events that the city puts on. 4th of July Meltdown, Light Up Lakewood. Some stats, you have them there in your presentation that was sent to you. Calls for service, pretty comparable to last year. Every year I go from January 1st to November 22nd, so there's an accurate time frame. Don't want to skew them by going an extra month and a half any year. Citations, a little bit down, but if you look at, what I'm most proud of, look at traffic warnings. We're pulling over 5,000 more cars every year. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we're giving them a ticket, but that's a positive police officer to citizen interaction where, we all know, let's be honest, not everybody deserves a ticket. It might be a minor traffic violation, but now the police officers are pulling them over, they're educating them and having a positive interaction. That's one of the stats I'm most proud of on here is that while we may not be writing as many tickets, we're pulling over a heck of a lot more cars. Parking tickets, we've actually increased by a grand total of 4 since over last year, which is still 900 more than 2023, which is excellent. Crime reports, criminal investigation reports, that's where somebody calls and says they've been victimized. They're decreasing. That's a good thing, right? Any city wants to be judged by the lack of crime, not how much crime they have, so that's a good thing. Misdemeanor arrests, right around 90 less than last year, but still more than 2023. Felony arrests steadily increasing. Why are there more arrests than police reports? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Misdemeanor arrests don't always get a crime. Think of your disorderly conducts, your intoxications. The smaller level crimes don't necessitate a criminal investigation report. Also, we charge...
And Chief, that can mean just a ticket, right?
A ticket, correct.
Okay.
An arrest, yes, thank you. Which the majority of those are, just tickets. But a lot of those other ones are, executing warrants from previous years, multiple charges on suspects, so that's just to give you some context on why there's more arrests than criminal investigation reports. And then the miscellaneous reports, lowest in 3 years. Those are just the kind of disturbances, the damage to properties, somebody drives over a pothole and breaks their tie rod or whatever, those kind of reports that we take and document for them. What we did this year with the money that was given 2025, we got every officer in the department a red dot site, keeping up with the other suburbs. Thank you for that. It definitely improves accuracy and training. We purchased a state-of-the-art Oscar camera. If any of you want to see it, it's unbelievable. I mean, you could put it on the ground, it takes a 360, and you can see a hair on the ground. The technology is amazing. Our drone program, which we just used today on the fire down in Homewood, helping out the fire department like we usually do. Helping out the fire department. We've really upped our game in there. And then CPT funds. One of the best things that happened to police work in the state of Ohio in the last few years is the Attorney General's office reimbursing training funds, dollar for dollar. So if we send an officer to training up to 40 hours, so there's 24 mandatory hours and then 16 elective hours, we get reimbursed that officer's salary dollar for dollar. I just got a check for $138,000, 135 and change maybe, somewhere around there. Reimbursement from this year. It's already from the 2025. We submit our stuff early because we don't want to lose out on the funds. From this year, calendar year 2025, we've already gotten our check for next year, and that is used for. It has to be used for the attending or administrating of training, which. We get creative with that. We put on training here all the time. Our in-services, administering the training it's pretty pricey, but now we can use these funds to do that, and it's a big deal. We also send our officers, yes?
What does CPT mean?
I'm sorry, continuing professional training.
CPT on the bullet there.
Continuing professional training.
Okay, thank you, got it.
Yes. So we also send our folks out to outside trainings as well for their respective disciplines. Real quick, I'll go over the other departments that the police department oversees. Parking enforcement, obviously a big deal. We filled our third spot. It was a part-time spot, but it had gone unfilled for a lot of years, being that it was a part-time position. We were able to fill that. She's great. She's helping us out a lot with administering, enforcing parking, also helping out with the meters, which are very time-consuming, maintaining those
Councilwoman
meters.
Keppel, did you want to interject a question?
I can wait till the end.
Sorry, I didn't mean the jail. We under Captain Stone, we did pass fully compliant, which is actually a really big deal, especially for a jail as old as ours. There's a lot of work that goes into that, but him and his staff did a great job. We successfully hired an additional full-time and a part-time jailer, a male full-time and a female part-time jailer. She's a full-time jailer out in Rocky River. Both of them have been fantastic. The jail is the most liability in the city. I mean, we house people there for up to 12 days. So having a staff that's highly trained and highly efficient is a big, big deal. And our jail staff does a great job. We also provided state-mandated training for all the employees, obviously, with jail responsibilities. If the jailer is not in the jail, a police officer has to man the jail. The jail can never go not supervised, obviously. So it's a big lift, but the guys and gals that do it are doing a great job. Dispatch, hired our 12th full-time dispatcher, which is great. That'll cut down on more overtime. We did improve programs and systems used in our field training. When a dispatcher, we bring them on, they have a 16-week training period. We have a system in place that was a little bit outdated, but the girls in there got together and took it and made it their own and enhanced their training module. 3 of our dispatchers were nominated for Gold Star Awards for their performance, which is an excellent honor for them. Unfortunately, didn't bring home the prize, but they were nominated, went down to Columbus, and we're proud of them. Animal control, I don't know if you guys heard, we have a new animal shelter. So that opened up a couple months ago. Obviously, a very, very nice facility. We did recruit and hire a full-time third ACO, so now we're up to staff for that nice new facility. We put a new ACO truck in service, and we also certified our ACO supervisor in chemical capture, which is a very humane way to capture animals that are either injured or nuisance animals. It's the most humane way to capture them. We do need a little bit of equipment to go with that. The stuff we have now, I believe when Gary went down there, they said it belongs in a museum. But we'll get there. 2026 and beyond, obviously, the big thing with us, obviously the building, I'm not going to beat you over the head with that, we all know. The building is the thing at the forefront. But we will continue to be proactive in hiring professional, qualified individuals. I've spoken to Chief Fairbanks about the NTN. It is definitely an asset. It's a broader range. It's got a recruiting or promotional element to it right in there. And where other cities are getting 10, 15, 20 applicants, we're in the 60s, which is great. Still not the 550 when I took it, but for this day and age, a city our size, we're doing well. It's a changing world, obviously. Police departments can't be stuck in neutral. We have to keep adapting with the times, so we will continue to utilize technology. Get the latest equipment for training and giving our officers every capability to do what they're doing. And obviously, I want to certify more officers in CIT. The judge hit it on the head with what we're seeing, the people we deal with. It's mental health and substance abuse. And a lot of times those go hand in hand. Sometimes they're independent of each other, but a lot of times they go hand in hand. And having officers who are well-trained and are able to use everything they can to de-escalate those individuals, we're going to put our resources towards that.
EIT is crisis intervention team or training?
Training, yes.
Okay, right.
Thank you. I hope that was fast enough for you guys.
Thank you, Councilwoman Keppel.
Thank you, and actually it's great that you ended on CIT because that was my question.
Yes.
So I know in the past sometimes we've talked about, so can we use the funds that you were talking about before, that can be used for CIT? I see you nodding, great.
Yes.
And so as we're hiring officers, I know One comment was in the past of like, not necessarily every officer is suited to CIT, but it's always kind of been my hope that we're moving to hiring officers who are suited to CIT. Is that a fair statement to say that we are as a whole?
Yes, Madam President. Now, the state of Ohio got wise. Now they actually do the mandatory 40-hour class in the academy. So, yes, so we aren't even having, so the only people we have to train now are our lateral transfers that may not have had it. We do get a couple of those, you know, we just hired one from Cleveland. Cleveland Sergeant decided to come here, which is great. He was in internal affairs. Now he was here and went to Cleveland and came back. So, but yes, we are, CIT also is not just a one-time deal, in my opinion. It's constantly, you know, striving to hone your de-escalation and your active listening and your empathy skills. So,
super. Council members, other council members? Hey, Councilwoman Steiner and then Councilman Evans. Councilwoman Steiner, please.
Thank you. Just again, to piggyback off what President Couple was talking about with CIT, I think that's great. And I think I've had this conversation with you as well. I understand not wanting to force officers to take that training, but I'm glad to see I didn't know that the state was mandating that. So I think that's important. So along that lines, I think I'm not sure if you or any of your staff have looked at the state of Ohio for grants through public safety for this. I know that the state has been pushing heavy funding for mental health and substance abuse. So there may be some opportunities to do some, to seek out some grants to maybe do some innovative programming that we can start addressing some of these root causes of what is driving some of these incidences that are happening in the community and working with the courts as well. So just keep that in mind, and maybe we can look towards that in 26 and beyond.
absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, we're at time. Any concluding shots in a haiku form? Chief, thank you for your good work to keep our policing and training practices also the same. It's very true for the fire department. Our public safety is leading the way, and also I think maintaining the tradition of being in mutual aid and regional task force and regional response units at the forefront. And so that's one way in which Lakewood really is another regional and statewide leader. Proud of you for that, quite sincerely. And we hear you loud and clear on the need for some capital investment in the police facilities. That's not a small issue, and we take it seriously. Thank you for the time. I'm going to say, without objection, the Finance Committee is adjourned.
Yep, we're going to take just 5 minutes to reset, please. Thank you.
That is generous.
No, we decided. It sounds like it's still in the process.
All right, we will call the full meeting of council to order. If you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Now take a moment of silence. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Bullock.
Here.
Councilmember Evans. Here. President Keppel.
Here.
Councilmember Marks. Here. Councilmember Steiner.
Here.
Councilmember Striebeck.
Here.
Reading and disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held November 17, 2025.
Move to approve without the necessity of a reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 1, report from Finance Committee meetings held November 24th, 2025 and December 1st, 2025.
Councilmember Bullock.
Thank you, Madam President. The Finance Committee began, in partnership with the administration, our annual budget hearings on November 24 and December 1. Actually, even one hearing prior to that with the Community Development Block Grant budget, but in full focus on the 2026 appropriation ordinances and the end of year 2025 budget ordinance corrections and adjustments ordinance. We've worked through about half the departments already, had very thoughtful and informed dialogue about both city operations and budgeting levels. We are going to continue that for the next 2 Mondays with the goal of adopting the budget on time and a regular schedule by December 15. We've got some more work to do, I think, but we're on our way. So I'll leave it high level. Move to receive and file that oral report.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 2, Resolution 2025-68, a resolution to take effect immediately, authorizing the mayor to negotiate and enter into a contract with a composting provider for a citywide composting program.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? I'll just say our thanks to Councilman Hamilton Steiner for chairing this initiative and to Director Byington and the administration for working collaboratively on this. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. I'm going to move to suspend the rules to read items 3 through 14 together.
Second.
And need a roll call?
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Evans? President Keppel?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks? Yes. Councilmember Steiner?
Yes.
Councilmember Streebig?
Yes.
Item 3, Ordinance 31, 2025, an ordinance to take effect immediately to establish appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Lakewood for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025. Item 4, Ordinance 32, 2025, an ordinance to take effect immediately, authorizing the transfer in advance of certain funds. Item 5, Ordinance 33, 2025, an ordinance to take effect immediately to establish appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Lakewood for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2026. Item 6, Ordinance 34, 2025, an ordinance to take effect immediately, authorizing the mayor, the Director of Public Works, the Director of Law, the Director of Finance, and/or Purchasing Manager to enter into contracts for professional services and to advertise for bids and enter into contracts for the purchase of repair, maintenance, and operating supplies, services, and equipment as authorized by the 2025 Appropriation Ordinance and the Administrative Code of the City, the lowest and best bidder or bidders, or as otherwise provided by law. Item 7, Ordinance 35, 2025, an ordinance to take effect immediately, authorizing and directing the mayor, the Director of Public Works, the Director of Law, the Director of Finance, and our Purchasing Manager to enter into contracts in accordance with the Administrative Code for the contracts listed below, not to exceed the specified amount shown without separate resolution of council. Item 8, Ordinance 36, 2025, an ordinance to take effect immediately, authorizing the mayor, the Director of Public Works, the Director of Law, the Director of Finance, the Director of Planning and Development, and/or the Purchasing Manager to enter into service contracts in accordance with the Administrative Code for the Department of Planning and Development in accordance with the Administrative Code of the City of Lakewood, contracts not to exceed the specified amount shown without separate resolution of council. And Danielle's going to help me.
Item 9, Ordinance 37-2025, an ordinance to take effect January 1st, 2026, to provide for creating positions and rates of pays for full-time and certain part-time annual salaried employees and hourly rate employees not covered by a collective bargaining agreement in the several departments, divisions, and offices of the City of Lakewood, including the Chief of Fire, Chief of Police, and Civil Service Commissioners, and superseding all prior salary ordinances. Item 10, Ordinance 38, 2025, an ordinance to take effect January 1st, 2026, amending Section 149.08, Vacation, Section 149.10, Holidays, and Section 149.11, Sick Leave Accumulation of the Lakewood Codified Ordinances to allow the accrual of vacation for employees at a faster rate, increase the maximum vacation that can be earned, add veteran-stated list of paid city holidays, and to increase the conversion of sick time upon separation of employment with the city. Item 11, Ordinance 39, 2025, an ordinance to take effect immediately, amending or repealing various sections of the Lakewood Codified Ordinances to update definitions and regulations related to pet grooming services within the City of Lakewood. Item 12, Ordinance 40, 2025, an ordinance to take effect immediately, amending or repealing various sections of the Lakewood Codified Ordinances to update definitions and regulations related to bicycle infrastructure within the City of Lakewood. 13, Ordinance 29, 2025, an ordinance to take effect January 1st, 2026, amending Section 129.53 Petty Cash Fund and 129.54 Operational Cash Funds of the Lakewood Codified Ordinances to better meet current needs for both petty cash and operational cash within the departments of the City of Lakewood. Item 14, Ordinance 30, 2025, an ordinance to take effect immediately, amending various sections of Part 1 Administrative Code and Part 7 Business Regulation Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Lakewood to remove all fees identified within those provisions to the master fee schedule.
Move to defer.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? We did have a question that came up, and I'll just put this out to the administration, maybe we can get, I think there was an email exchange about this, but for ordinance 38, 2025 regarding the sick time payout, there was a question regarding the estimated cost of that. So maybe, Dr. Mahoney, if we could have that answered over, not at this exact moment, but if we could follow up on that, what that cost is, that would be appreciated. All right, any further discussion on these? So these are in second reading. We'll keep working in Finance Committee to get through all of them. So. All right, hearing none, on the motion to defer, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 15, Resolution 2025-70, a resolution to take effect immediately, appointing one person as the ex officio non-voting council member to Lakewood Animal Safety and Welfare Advisory Board for a 2-year term beginning January 1st, 2026 and ending December 31st, 2027.
Colleagues, as you'll recall, Councilmember Marks has been serving on this, and as we mentioned last meeting when this came up, is no longer going to be serving on LaSwab, and I had encouraged council members to reach out who were interested. And barring anyone speaking up at this time, I am going to move to insert the name Angelina Hamilton Steiner into the resolution.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Councilwoman Marks.
Well, Councilman Hamilton Steiner, you will really enjoy this group of women who are very dedicated. So I'm really happy to hear that you're going to be serving with them.
Thank you.
I'll miss them.
Thank you. Yeah, it is an excellent group, and Councilman, we appreciate your willingness to serve, and I know you'll do an excellent job.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion on the motion to insert the name Angelina Hamilton Steiner into the resolution? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I guess we could go ahead and move to adopt, right? Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and move to adopt as amended.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 16, Substitute Resolution 2025-60, a resolution to take effect immediately approving the amended bylaws of the Lakewood Youth Council.
And we have the, so as I recall, we had some adjustments. We got and we moved it out of committee favorably to adopt with those amendments, and the version that is on the docket reflects those amendments. Is that accurate? Yes, I'm seeing the chair nod. Okay, great. So in that case, I will move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. Councilwoman Strubig.
Thank you. I just wanted to recognize several members of the Lakewood Youth Council in attendance today, as well as their advisor, Ms. Johnson, and the extensive work that they have all done on this, especially Alessio, who basically took this on and really read through this to understand it and to make corrections to better reflect how this group actually works together. And when I say work together, I do mean work together. They do quite a nice job each month addressing the concerns of the groups and hearing everyone and getting everyone's input and coming to a decision. So kudos to this group.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hamilton Steiner.
Thank you, President Couple. I just want to say congratulations to the amazing Youth Council and just your work and effort and commitment to doing something that seems mundane and boring and to others, but it is a very important part of Youth Council. And as you can see, you know, as council running meetings, it's very important in having rules and bylaws and procedures, and it just helps keep an organization. It gives an organization structure and gives you legitimacy as well. So I just want to congratulate you on that, and thank you for coming out here to this meeting tonight.
Thank you. I'll echo those sentiments. It is exciting always to see youth at the meeting, and for all of the work that you guys do. We really appreciate it. We want to make sure it is not just lip service to say that we want to make sure that we have youth voice represented in the work that we do. So these kinds of things, like rules, bylaws, might seem, again, kind of mundane, but we see every day at the federal government and the state government that it's very important that we have norms that everyone understands and can work by to achieve fairness and have voices heard. So thank you for your work on it. All right, any further discussion? And also thank you to Councilman Strebig and Councilmember Hamilton-Steiner for your support on this as well. And Clerk Bach. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, on the motion to adopt, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 17, communication from Councilmember Marks regarding her resignation.
Councilwoman Marks.
Well, I do have to say this is a very bittersweet letter to read. Dear Council President and members of Lakewood City Council and the administration, I'm writing to formally resign from my position in Lakewood City Council effective December 31st, 2025. It has been a difficult decision, as serving the residents of Lakewood has been a tremendous honor and one of the most meaningful experiences of my public life. My upcoming marriage and subsequent move outside of the city of Lakewood mean that I will no longer meet the residency requirement necessary to continue serving on council. While I'm excited for this next chapter personally, it is with genuine regret that I step down before the end of my term. I want to express my sincere gratitude to my colleagues, city staff, and above all, the residents of Lakewood for their trust and support. Working together to strengthen our community has been a privilege, and I am proud of the progress we've made. I have full confidence that the council will continue to serve with integrity, diligence, and dedication. To ensure a smooth transition, I am fully prepared to assist in any way helpful during my remaining time in office. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve this extraordinary city. Lakewood will always remain close to my heart, and I look forward to cheering on its continued success for my new home in Shaker Heights. Respectfully.
I guess it's on me to move to receive and file that. So I will move to receive and file first.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, and discussion. I know we'll all have more comments to make at your final meeting, but I just want to take a moment to recognize the long service of Councilmember Marks, both on council and in the community. We'll talk more about that, as I mentioned, but if I can speak for all of council, we are certainly extremely excited for you for your next chapter, but also sorry to see you go. So, yeah, we appreciate it. Other comments from council? We will, I'm sure, be discussing this more at the next full council meeting. Give folks time to prepare their remarks. But thank you, Councilwoman Marks, for getting this in.
Thank you all very much.
And on that note, I do expect that we will begin taking applications for an appointment. They'll have an official communication about that from me on the next docket. But, if you know folks who live in Ward 4, you can refer them to Councilwoman Marks for guidance on what an excellent Ward 4 council member looks like. Okay, so we have a motion to receive and file the communication. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 18, report from Councilmember Strebig regarding November 20th, 2025 meeting of Lakewood Youth Council.
Councilwoman Strebig.
Dear colleagues, on Thursday, November 20th, 2025, the Lakewood Youth Council met at Cove Community Center. Sean Miller read her proposal for a youth advocacy committee, and a robust conversation was held about government and politics. The council ultimately decided that advocacy can be addressed in the outreach committee. A recommendation came from the chair, Mel Diemert, that the committee chairs be able to better define the parameters of their committees. Chair Diemert announced that the Lakewood City Council had ratified the new members. Alessio Matura, chief author of the bylaw changes, thanked the members who attended the Lakewood City Council Rules and Ordinances Committee meeting while he was busy with other activities. He agreed with all of the recommendations for change. Cora Barcelona discussed a pinwheel walk to bring awareness to child abuse and recommended that this group participate and organize an event in Lakewood. Era Yulo, co-chair of the Mental Health Committee, recommended mandatory mental health days, which I totally agreed with. Everyone should have mental health days. The next meeting is December 18th at 6 p.m. at Cove. The public is welcome to attend.
Thank you. I'll move to receive and file that report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Go ahead, Councilwoman Hamilton Steiner.
And perhaps if, before the youth council members leave, if they would like to respond, if they're available, if that would be appropriate. But just curious, the Youth Advocacy Committee, what would that entail? What would they, I know that they decided it would be rolled into the Outreach Committee, but what types of, I guess, efforts or activities were they looking for?
Do any of you want to speak on that? Mel, do you want to talk? Yeah, come on up to the podium.
Hello, is it on? Hi. So Sean's idea basically was to help educate the youth about the government and how it works and kind of advocate for education through that, and then create, a community of advocators in themselves, like make the students their own advocates and help them understand the political landscape a bit better. But we thought, that kind of fit under already existing committee, so, we didn't make it its own thing. That's all.
Okay, thank you. So you're looking to expand civic education and participation, essentially?
Yes, correct.
Okay, now I may have some ideas for that, so we should talk.
Yeah, the City Council certainly shares that objective, so that I think that's something that we could certainly work on together. I just also had a question about the mandatory mental health days. Is that meaning?
I think she was referring to school days off. However,
Sadly, we have no authority over
yeah,
that.
across the board, if you need a mental health day, I fully support that.
Sure, yeah. We just heard tonight how much mental health is affecting everything in the courts and the police, so.
We did talk about writing to the State Board of Ed.
Okay. All right, so just because anyone tuning in at home won't hear without the microphone, so there was commentary of potentially writing to the State Board of Education.
We often have the conversations about the parameters of this group as a city group and also making recommendations to their schools, right? Which is naturally the world that they live in. And, to try and make that jump, sometimes it's not a natural fit, but at the same time, encourage them to reach out to whomever, would help with their concerns, for sure.
Great. Thank you. Councilman Hamilton.
Yes, thank you, President Couple. And I thought that the schools had started like a similar youth advisory or something, so you may want to reach out to the school board, because there may be an opportunity to do some collaborative work. So similarly, how we would meet with the Board of Education, Youth Council could meet, have a collaborative meeting. So that's something that you could look into.
Great, thank you. All right, any further discussion on the report from the Youth Council meeting? Hearing none, on the motion to receive and file, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 19, report from Councilmember Streebig regarding November 19th, 2025 meeting of the Lakewood Animal Safety and Welfare Advisory Board.
Councilmember Streebig.
Dear colleagues, the Lakewood Animal Safety and Welfare Advisory Board met on Wednesday, November 19th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the East Conference Room at City Hall. A quorum of members led by Chair Nancy Binder, Animal Control Officer Gary Crumley, Attorney Dana Marie Pinella of Alley Cats Allies, TNR Advocate Megan Galeta, and I reviewed the latest draft of the TNR ordinance. I explained the changes that met their request to remove all registration and training requirements. The language that Attorney Pinella recommended was included, and the concerns for other recommended other recommended legislation outside of the TNR scope could be addressed at a later date. We all agreed to move forward with this version with one typo change and send it back to a Public Safety Committee meeting in January. Officer Crumley reviewed his monthly numbers report, and I asked about adding deer to the report. He responded that the city does not remove deer, but he has some future plans for this issue, which I think we heard talked about in the chief's report tonight with chemicals, but that I could be incorrect on that. Is that true, Chief?
Primarily, that would not be used for
Not for
TNR,
deer?
no.
Okay. No, sir, not for TNR, but for deer.
Yes, oh, yes, absolutely.
For deer. Okay, so I think, you know, for all the neighbors that have reached out to me over the last 2 years that are concerned about deer, we may have some help coming for you. Excuse me. Emily Christacue reported that the LaSwab and Lakewood Community Service Center Pet Food Drive on November 15th was a success, and they received over 2,000 pounds of food, which I think is fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move to receive and file that report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion.
Madam President?
Councilmember Bullock.
One follow-up for the police chief. So what is chemical intervention? Is that a dart?
Yes, for lack of better, the technology, yes, is basically a dart gun.
Okay, like we see on television, not spraying something.
No,
over
no,
a
it would
whole
be
area.
it would be a focused.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We're not pepper spraying deer. Thank you. Or worse. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So we have a motion to receive and file the LaSwab report. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 20, report from Councilmember Strebig regarding November 18th, 2025 meeting of the Community Recreation Education Commission.
Councilmember Strebig again.
Dear colleagues, the Lakewood Community Recreation and Education Commission met on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Taft Center for Innovation. Coordinator Leslie Favor reported that football and volleyball end-of-season meetings were being held. Youth basketball registration is closed, and coaches' meetings and clinics are scheduled. Numbers for youth basketball travel teams are up, but the numbers for 5th and 6th grade girls in-house basketball is down, which gave me concern, of course. So I asked multiple questions, and the response was volleyball is very popular at this moment. High school students in the SALT, the Student Athletic Leadership Team, were visiting and talking to elementary school students to increase visibility and meet requirements for service hours. High school swimming and basketball are starting. The tap dancers, once housed at the Franklin School, have a new home at Taft. Information for the new winter brochure is due on December 5th, and she also reminded us that Lakewood residents get preference over non-resident registration for classes and activities, but people should register early. President Paul Porter discussed an equity conversation held at the Lakewood Community Baseball and Softball Association meeting regarding the lack of softball players' access to turf fields after a rain event. The baseball field is turf and can be used sooner than the dirt softball field. Paul also requested a report from the department identifying which programs are happening and the locations of those programs. There will not be a December meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Move to receive and file that report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 21, communication from Law Director Varga regarding First Energy PUCO proceedings.
Director Varga.
Thank you, dear President Keppel and members of City Council. As you are aware, the cities of Lakewood and Barberton have intervened in the proceedings before the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio involving First Energy. First Energy seeks to reduce the standards of reliability by which the Commission assesses the energy distribution performance of the company. Lakewood and Barberton oppose First Energy's attempt to lessen its reliability standards and are now parties to the regulatory proceedings. The administration respectfully requests that council support the city's efforts by adopting the attached resolution of support. The Law Department intends to submit the resolution, if adopted, to the Commission by December 8, 2025, which is the deadline for the filing of evidentiary and related materials. Council's adoption of the resolution this evening would allow the Law Department sufficient time to include the resolution in its total submission of documentary evidence in the proceedings. And just a little more background on this. This hearing is before an administrative law judge who's part of the Public Utilities Commission. That judge is going to conduct an evidentiary hearing on January 21. That's going to be an extended evidentiary hearing, and it'll be led in opposition by the Ohio Consumers Council. That's a state-funded entity in Columbus that represents the interests of consumers vis-a-vis the public utilities. The Ohio Consumers Council has technological support and engineering staff, and they'll present very technical evidence in opposition to First Energy's application. The city of Lakewood will also present evidence. Part of that evidence we hope to have is the resolution that we have prepared for you this evening. We are in consultation with the OCC, the Ohio Consumers Council, and they suggested the resolution to impress upon the administrative law judge that the city is intervening not just on behalf of the administration, but the entire city through its elected officials, City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, first I'll move to receive and file the communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. And for discussion, I'll first of all thank you for preparing this and for that explanation. I think we all know, having heard all my colleagues up here talk about our frustrations with First Energy, that we certainly don't need First Energy to be less reliable or lower their standards in any way. But I'm happy to support that in the form of a resolution tonight. Any further discussion? Councilmember Bullock.
Thanks, Madam President. I think you hit the nail on the head with what you just said, and I'd be also happy to support the motion tonight to adopt the proposed resolution. And thank you to Mayor George for really leading the way on this in partnership with the City Council and to the Law Department, which I know has put in a lot of work on this. I think this is terrific, and I appreciate the Law Department informing us by this update and also including the whole community and the whole city government via this resolution. I do think it can matter. I have a day job that overlaps with some of this work. I don't recall the city government ever taking this step previously, so this is kind of new ground that the mayor's covering here, and there's potential that we could have more legal teeth depending on how this goes. But even if not, it's kind of a virtuous precedent to set that we're willing to pursue our rights in other formal layers of government, while at the same time continuing to communicate with our liaisons of the company. I mean, that seems a little contradictory, but it's actually not. We got to work on multiple levels. And to your point, Council President, the town hall meeting that the company, it was a good thing that they came and faced the public and talked to us for 90 minutes. But while they were doing that in one part of the company, their legal department is down in Columbus asking to worsen the outage times. Our local utility, Cleveland Electric Illuminating Company, is already the worst performer in all of the First Energy territories, and they're asking for permission to make it still worse. So that's they have one foot on the accelerator, one foot on the brake, so to speak. Or maybe the answer is they're digging the hole deeper. They're proposing to dig the hole deeper. So that's where, and I really appreciate the work of the Law Department to represent all of our collective interests and say no, not just to the Customer Service Department, but to their administrative law process. And so that's why I think this is significant. Thank you.
Mayor George.
Thank you. I just want to give a special thanks to Councilman Bullock, who, met with myself and others in the administration multiple times, and with his knowledge in this subject was very instrumental in helping us get to this point. So I just want to thank you, Tom, for your collaborative efforts, and it's good to see that we're all moving forward together. But special thanks to you, Tom.
Thank you. Yeah, I can actually remember Councilman Bullock, you reaching out with the Consumer Council connection as well, so appreciate that as well. And, I think this is one of those times where, and that's what this resolution does, is says, this isn't an administrative issue or a council issue. This is an issue that affects everyone in Lakewood and beyond. Because what we're able to do here, and just even by standing up to this giant, showing that we're not going down without a fight. So, all right. So with that, we have the motion to receive and file the communication. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 22, Resolution 2025-74, a resolution to take effect immediately supporting the intervention of the City of Lakewood in proceedings titled in the matter of the application of Ohio Edison Company, the Cleveland Electric Illuminating Company, and the Toledo Edison Company to establish minimum reliability standards pending before the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 23, November 2025 Finance Department vendor report submitted pursuant to Lakewood Codified Ordinance 11103.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 24, liquor permit notice regarding Easy Out, 11824 Detroit Avenue.
Director Varga, I believe we're in possession of the report. No objections from law. Okay. Sorry, I'll let you speak if you want, but that's what I read. Councilwoman Marks?
No need to object.
Okay, great. All right, so we will move to file without objection.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Thanks, Chief, to your team for the report. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. We are at public comment. We have one e-comment, which will be entered into the record. Anyone else signed in to speak or wishes to speak? Going once, going twice. All right. Announcements from council members. Vice President Baker.
Yes, and Councilperson Streebig had all our communications in, and I had a work conflict for my Lakewood Alive board meeting, so you'll be getting that update from next council meeting. But there are two things that are relevant to share, I think, for everyone. A, Light Up Lakewood is this weekend. It will be snowy, so it'll actually be cold and snowy. Secondly, Executive Director Ian Andrews is leaving the organization actually to join Planning Department and City Hall. So on one hand, I'm very happy we get to work with him here. On the other hand, I'm sad, but I think it's a good move for him. It's a good move for the city, and it'll show kind of the organizational sustainability at Lakewood Alive. But there will be more of an update on the docket at the next meeting. Thank you.
Councilmember Streebig.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind everyone that there's a full moon on the 4th. On the 10th is Human Rights Day, and Hanukkah begins on the 14th. But most importantly, today is World AIDS Day. And I'd just like to read a few comments to you from the World Health Organization. In 2024, an estimated 40.8 million people were living with HIV globally. Approximately 630,000 people died from HIV-related causes in 2024. An estimated 1.3 million people acquired HIV in 2024. Daily pills like oral PrEP have been a breakthrough for HIV prevention, but for some people, taking daily pills and attending health appointments is not easy. The good news is there's a new drug recommended by the World Health Organization called lenacapavir. It only requires injections every 6 months, and it prevents almost all new HIV infections, and it was safe and well tolerated. And the best part is it's expected to be affordable for people in low and middle income countries around the world. So a bit of good news on December 1st, World AIDS Day across the world.
Thank you. All right, any, Councilwoman Marks?
I would just like to publicly acknowledge Lakewood Fire Department in fighting the fire of Mrs. Campbell, who is a business owner of Ennis Court. She lives on Homeland and lost her home today, and she called me to let me know that the work of the Lakewood Fire Department was quite valiant. She was so impressed and felt well taken care of emotionally as well as physically with her home. So thank you, Chief, for continuing to serve our community and working your hardest to keep us safe. And I know that was a tough fire to put out, so thank all your fellow firemen for all of us for doing their job so well.
And fire women. Now we know there's two. All right.
Madam President, I got one real fast.
And the police for helping out too, with the assist. Yep, there you go. There you go. Councilman Bullock.
Sure, just a shout out to Director Gordon and his team, Public Works. The snowflake lights are up again. We've had that, I think, 2, 3, 4 years now, but they look terrific. And I know we worked together with our good friends at the utility to get them up. It took some doing, but now they're working, and they're all over town, and they're on time for Light Up Lakewood. So that's, I think, proved well, and thanks for getting, the crews putting them up and taking them down and making them operate properly.
Thanks. And on the note of snowflakes, also shout out to Public Works for working over the holiday weekend with the snow. So with leaves and snow. So yes, as Vice President Baker pointed out. So I know it's a tough one to happen on a holiday weekend, and we really appreciate you guys out there. So just, I alluded to this, but just a heads up, as you can start, council members, as you start talking with folks you know in Ward 4, I would expect that we'll follow the standard process that we've come to do with council appointments of call for applications, interviews, and with that, I'll be putting out an official announcement, but we're looking to take applications, which would include a cover letter and resume, through January 2nd at noon. So, start spreading that word. And I think that's it from me. Any other announcements from council? Yeah, I know. It's a little rough right after the holidays, but we don't want to, because we have to have time to review and then schedule and all the things. So, okay. And any announcements from the administration?
Just real quick, before the next council meeting, I know you have finance, but we will be doing the Cram the Cruiser at Giant Eagle. Timmy's back, my buddy Timmy's back, and hopefully we can get a bunch of food for the needy.
That's awesome. And that's a great initiative, Chief. Thank you. And the ward officers for leading it.
What is the date of that again?
It's 2 weeks from today. It's before the council meeting. It's from 3 to 6.
Okay,
so
perfect.
Stop by before the finance committee
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Any further announcements? All right. With that, without objection, we are adjourned.